r/NoSleep. Posted by u/TomWritesTrash. Every night a truck drives around my apartment complex playing a strange warning. Basically, as the title says, each night at approximately 1 a.m. Central Time, an old white truck drives laps around my apartment complex's parking lot, blasting a weird warning. Caution, please remain indoors. Do not exit your home under any circumstances. Please stay calm. Caution, please remain indoors. Do not exit your home under any circumstances. Please remain calm. And it loops, weaves through the scattered cars and echoes around the lifeless lot along with its disembodied speaker, an old Ford F-150 with a metal overhang above its bed. The first time I saw the truck was a couple of days after my girlfriend, Lex, and I moved in. Being off of work the next day, I had stayed up late grinding out missions in an MMO. Muffled through my headset, the now familiar warning began playing. I walked over to the front window and took a peek. I had assumed the truck was our complex's maintenance staff responding to a late-night pseudo-emergency. Its windows were empty, black, tinted to match the void above. It wasn't until the statement looped once more that I realized it was coming from the rundown vehicle. I watched through the window as the truck slowly rolled through the lot, past my building, and began its lap around. My complex is basically set up like a large square, the perimeter of which is made up of various buildings, quadplexes, of varying architectural styles and types. The center of the square, its focal point if you will, is the squat reception building, usually staffed with no more than a single employee. It was around this central building I watched the old white truck crawl, over and over, around and around, until finally the warning ceased its loop, and the truck casually turned down the drive, and sped away. Lex was asleep during this first sighting, but I was sure to tell her about it the next morning. It was only a week later when she got to experience it herself. It was a rainy morning? When we rolled into our sad little slice of life, the car's flickering dashboard proclaiming the time to be just after 1 a.m. I believe it was 1:12 for anyone craving specifics. We had been out with some of her old friends from college, and it was nice seeing her come out of her otherwise impenetrable shell, even if some alcohol was required. We weren't the type to go bar hopping, still aren't, but every now and then someone convinces us to take one for the team. I had only had a couple of hard ciders over the course of the night, and as such became the unintentional designated driver for my less than sober partner. We were busy jamming to some nostalgic early 2000s pop songs, and the sudden silence was deafening as I pulled into my usual spot and removed the key from the ignition. My ears rang slightly from the music, and the engine rattled dully beneath the rhythmic thrum of rain against the windshield. It would have been a peaceful moment if not for the blaring warning we suddenly found ourselves subjected to. Caution, it began, Lex's eyes widening in the muted fluorescence of the automatic interior lights. I started to say something, but was shushed instantly. Please remain indoors. Do not exit your home under any circumstances. Please remain calm. My girlfriend, ever curious and always down to discuss the creepy and unnerving, reached for her door's handle. My hand instinctively snapped out and latched onto her bicep. I shook my head. The rain came down in sheets, adding a strange pattern to the background of our scene. Splotches of dim light threw shadows across the vehicle's interior as the truck passed slowly behind our parked car. Caution, it began again, the sound unthwarted by the gallons of water pouring over the pavement. Blinds came down over a previously empty window on the building in front of us. What the fuck? She mouthed silently. We sat in silence, listening only to the rain and the voice for another 20 minutes or so, only exiting the car when we saw the truck's headlights fade into the distance. About a month after we moved in, the couple across the hall from us finally introduced themselves. My partner and I are both relatively anxious people, and don't necessarily go out of our way to expand our friend group. That being said, the couple was nice enough, and after we invited them in for a couple of drinks, I got my chance to hopefully get some answers. So how are you guys liking the complex? The woman, let's call her Maddie, asked between sips of a Crown Apple and Sprite. Aside from the landlords, the man, Doug, interjected playfully, we already know their shit. I stifled a laugh. It's good, Lex said enthusiastically, except for the laundry building I guess. Pretty sure it's been closed since we got here. I saw my chance, down the rest of my old-fashioned and took it. And the weird speaker system that plays at night. I added sheepishly, not smooth. Doug's smile flickered slightly. The short silence was uncomfortable. He made a show of looking left and right in faux paranoia. You're not supposed to know about that, he said, and paused. The room fell silent again for a split second before he burst into laughter. "I'm just fucking with you," he wheezed, a dumb-as-dick grin plastered across his face. "That shit's creepy, right?" I forced a smile, slightly annoyed. "Damn right it's creepy. I mean, what even is that? I'm pretty sure it's not even the apartment that plays it." No, it's a fucking truck." Maddie cut in, suddenly interested. "An old beater of a thing." "Yeah, tinted windows and failing headlights. We saw it out there when we got home late one night," my girlfriend said, happy to be discussing a weird topic. Silence. It was Doug who finally spoke up. "Well, I mean, did you do it?" Doug swirled the drink around his glass. "Do what?" I asked, confused. "Go outside," Doug roared, seemingly furious. I sunk back into my chair, suddenly frightened and on edge. "No. I mean, we almost did, but the truck drove away after a while." Within a second Doug was on his feet, his glass had left his hand and now sailed across the room to the wall where it shattered in a prismatic display of ice and overpriced liquor. "You fucking listen to that warning, do you understand me? You don't play with things you don't understand. Fucking apes and hydrogen colliders." The ignorant display a facade of brilliance only shattered by the idiotic act of doing. Maddie was on her feet now, grabbing at Doug's arms in an attempt to get him to stop. It seemed like he was forgetting to breathe. What kind of shepherd would lead his flock to the precipice of inexistence? How many worms? Doug fell to the floor in a fit of spasms. Maddie was screaming now, slapping Doug's cheeks. "He's fucking epileptic!" Maddie screamed, rolling Doug onto his side and holding him still against his misfiring muscles. "What the fuck was that about? What the fuck was he talking about?" Lex yelled at her, coming out from behind me. "He has episodes," Maddie sobbed. "He's on medication but it doesn't get rid of them completely." "Do I call an ambulance?" I asked, voice shaky. "No," Maddie said defiantly. "We can't afford any more hospital visits. I promised him the next time it happened I'd take care of him myself." Doug flopped there, gurgling, gasping, until finally his eyes snapped open and he lay still. Incident Report 7G0X, redacted, Police Station. May 13, 2024, 12:07 a.m. Accidental death. Witness number 1 statement below. Unintelligible sobbing. Witness number 2 statement below. "Those eyes, man. I can't close mine without seeing 'em. The sickly red of bursting blood vessels." Witness number 2 retches into a nearby trash can. "He looked at me, you know. After his seizure or whatever. His eyes snapped open like a gaping maw and swallowed my gaze whole." Detective Reyes writes something in his notepad. I think he wanted to tell me something. Wanted me to know something." Witness number 2 retches again. Witness number 3 statement below. Unintelligible sobbing. End of report. I wanted to include this report here because I truthfully don't know how else to convey the events of that despicable night. That night of which I'll be attempting to flay from the deep recesses of my mind for the rest of my life. We sat in peeling leather chairs for over an hour before the cops sent us home. My mind was a fucking maelstrom, flinging thoughts and empty questions about my brain ruthlessly. They asked Maddie to stay longer, hoping to get some answers when she calmed down. I don't remember the drive home, its contents blurred by the barrage of my brain. I remember turning off the car, grabbing the door's handle, and being pulled forcefully back to the present moment. Though it wasn't the mayhem of my mind that forced my attention back to reality, but a familiar, static-filled whine. Caution. I looked at the time on the dashboard, tears welling up in my eyes. 1:24 a.m. Lex began sobbing. "Please remain indoors." I declined my seat, climbed into the back, and pulled Lex with me. "Do not exit your home under any circumstances." We were both crying now, holding each other tight against the end of the world. "Please remain calm." We woke in the early hours of a new day, blind to the exterior movements of life. Numb, we climbed the staircase to our apartment and walked inside, careful to step over the invisible corpse which would forever rot on the floor of our solace. Lex stripped off her clothes, now tainted with the intangible fetor of death, and climbed into the shower robotically. I walked straight into the bedroom, sat at my desk, and turned on the computer. That leads me to now. The reception building, if it's even staffed today, opens in less than an hour. I'm going to take a second to screw my head back on and go ask them straight. Considering the truck leaves when its broadcast is over, I don't have high hopes for the complex staff knowing anything, but I have to do something. I feel like I'm going mad.